Hey guys, it's your friendly neighborhood Suds, and if you didn't know already, I worked at a pet shelter called Clawworks. I was there for a while and I have some stories about it. My first story takes place when it was my first day. At Clawworks, we had this cage that we kept the dogs in, and in that cage was a few workers, usually, and I bet you could tell I was one of them. I bet you're wondering what the workers were supposed to do in that cage. Well, when the dogs pooped, we would have to put it in a bag, and when the dogs peed, we would have to wipe it up and throw it in the trash. We also did other things, like we had this water spraying can thing that you would spray at the dogs if they started fighting. And we were also there to comfort the dogs and pet them. And another thing is only 2 people can be in the cage at a time. So a lot of the time you were stuck with some odd characters. On my first day, the other person in the cage with me had been there at Clawworks for a while. Basically, that means all the dogs went to her and no dogs went to me. But there was one dog that went to me, and his name was Rodney, and I loved him. He was 16 years old, and every day he would come to me, and he would sit on my lap, and I would hug him. And that's what I would do for my shift, other than the times I had to get up and clean poop or pee. Speaking of pee, there's another story involving pee. After a while of working at Clawworks, some dogs would come to me, and there were these 2 husky twins that were always next to each other. Also, in the cage, there were 2 beds, one in the bottom left corner and one in the top right corner. And the 2 husky twins would always be laying in the bottom left corner bed. Anyways, one time, one husky twin was laying on top of the other, so I had to separate them. And when I went under to push them apart, one of them peed on me. That's really the story. Not much to it. There's also another one thing that I can't believe I haven't mentioned already. On the original meeting that we got to go to when we were hired, there was the mascot dog, and he had this wheelchair because his back 2 legs were paralyzed. After the first meeting, I walked him around the mall we were in. Sometimes he would show up during a shift, and he would lay in his bed by the front desk. He was so cute. And one other story I want to mention is there was this dog named Six, I think was his name. He was super skinny, but he would jump super high. And I remember multiple occasions where he would jump over the bars and out of the cage, and then we would have to run around the store chasing him. And one last story. One time, I didn't know better yet, but once I laid down on the bed in the top right corner, and then the dogs were dogpiling on top of me, and they were just covering me. I remember one person came in and thought I was a hairless dog, and the manager came in to see what the hairless dog the customer was talking about. But then she turned to me. I was in the pile, and the manager said, "Hey, Suds, is that you? You're not allowed to be laying in the bed." I was so tempted to say, "No, I am a dog. Woof, woof." But I didn't. I just told her, "Sorry, ma'am."